Aloha. This video, I wanted to keep going from the last couple of videos and just expand upon my perspectives on flat earth and the so-called community, the communities, and other so-called movements and revolutions and just systems that are out there that we think that are just okay. We think that's just a part of, society, just like the mainstream media. It's just a part of society. But people who are listening to this video right now, we already know that there's a secret government. There's the public government that wants you to think that it's the people in charge, and then there's a secret government. This is not like a conspiracy. This is an actual fact that there are people behind the scenes pulling the strings of these puppeteers we call politicians and activists and, big corporations, and making the military industrial complex run, making the prison industrial complex run, making these protests and these storylines that surround these particular protests, revolutions, movements, and so on and so forth, making them look and feel a particular way. What makes you think flat earth is any different? I'm going to give you some examples in this video of bona fide, true, so-called, they're not conspiracies anymore. These are actual facts that this secret government has been carrying out. And I want you to keep in mind the title of this video involving the submissive mentality, the complacentness of our interaction with this government, both the public and the secret government, and the passivity that is the intention of it all. And keep in mind this whole time what this mainstream flat earth atmosphere feels like, what it tastes like, what it sounds like, what it smells like. Like, really go through the depths of the last 2 years of how flat earth has been. Because I've mentioned this in another video. I've mentioned it was called something like Operation Flat Earth. But really keep in mind the style of approach that is the so-called flat earth community, and these individuals that call themselves top brass, and these groups of people who I keep saying consistently are only focusing on the so-called science of flat earth and actively ignoring the why and the how of heliocentrism, the why and the how of mind control on a massive scale involving the heliocentric universe. The mind control on that level, and you have people with hundreds of thousands of followers telling you to only focus on the Jews, people with tens of thousands of followers telling you to only focus on NASA, and how NASA is the only thing that's wrong with society right now, and that oh yeah, we'll mention all these other conspiracies, but really what it boils down to is if everybody just comes together and realizes that flat earth is the real deal, then everything will just be okay. Well, let me give you some examples of why it's not going to be okay, and why, on the other hand of that, why this system, or this so-called flat earth community, smells just like the shit that this secret government has been doing for decades, if not centuries. So this article is a proof of the last 3 or 4 videos ago, where I was talking about the United Nations agenda of this sustainable development. This has been going on for years now. I mentioned it. I was aware of it in the occupied time, like 2011 into 12, but it was only like the wheels just started turning, and recently it's starting to kick more into gear with this whole economic downfall, this worldwide disasters and all this stuff that's going on, and the expansion of the new age, because this system, it can't make any moves unless the people allow it to make those moves. The people have to be informed enough to want these moves to happen. They have to be scared enough. They have to be dependent enough, codependent enough on this system to make these moves be believable. They can't just make a move and because there's a shock value there. What will happen is you will shock people into unveiling the conspiracy. So it has to slowly be kind of milked into your system. And this is what these comedians are doing. This is what these late night talk show hosts are doing. Like, remember what I said in the last few videos. This late night talk show stuff, it basically is brand new. It jumped off in the last few years. How many late night talk show hosts are there now? I mean, talk show hosts, period, and talk shows all over the place. They've more than doubled. They've gotten way more political to where they pretty much only talk about politics. Everything, the ongoing thing is about Trump, and that's not a mistake. They need you to focus on this stuff. So you have this, pretty much this new mainstream media that's adding more weight to the system. And that weight is also more energy. It's more focus. It's more indoctrination. So you believe in it more, and they can actually move quicker. So anyway, these are just other examples of the complacency, the passivity, and the submissiveness of this entire program. They use comedy to make you complacent, to make you apathetic, to make you indoctrinated. They use this idea of peace with, we need to go bomb this country. We need to go get weapons of mass destruction to spread peace around the world. So we need to bomb Iraq in order to, maintain peace. All of that's a lie. So they're lying right in your face. They didn't need a secret government to go and bomb Iraq. They didn't need a secret government to do all of these other things that, like, the stuff that's out there that people know about now. A large majority of people know about 9/11. The other majority of people are just either can't look at it because it's too difficult or painful, or they're consumed by their responsibilities in life. They're either passive about it, they're complacent or apathetic. They just don't care. And that's also a side effect to the distractionary society that we live within today. Social media. Look at your commercials. Just look at these TV. Look at TV for a moment and see how it's designed. That's a weapon. That's a war machine. The television is a war machine designed to maintain complacency, passivity, and submissiveness across the board. Apathy. I mean, everybody knows this, but really, when you look at it, I'm just giving these examples because I'm going to keep this as a short video. I'm giving these examples of how this entire system is designed to make you want to expand your own enslavement. And these stories that I'm getting ready to share with you, these operations that I'm getting ready to share with you, are to give you a confirmation. You can look up this stuff on your own after it's done, because these are just going to be entries into it. But these are just like mini confirmations of the secret government. And if you have all of these mini confirmations of this secret government, in hopes that if you see all this, then this is being shared in hopes that you will actually see that the government that's in front of you is no different than the commercial version of reality that comes on the television. It's worse than the commercials in between the local news, in between your sitcoms, the politics themselves. And then that means that the alternative news and these so-called aggressive progressives, Bernie Sanders pushers, and Alex Jones perspectives of globalists against the patriots. This is also part of that nonsensical perspective of reality. None of those systems, including Alex Jones, are talking about the secret government. If they're talking about the secret government, they might mention it, like Alex Jones, because I'm going to mention Bohemian Grove in here. He might mention it, but that's when you mention that and then you just water down the rest of your storylines with still believing in the system as if you can change it from within the system, then you are confirmed part of that system. You've used that secret tether. You've used that hook of Bohemian Grove to hook people in to your information stream called InfoWars. This is what Alex Jones did. He hooked people into believing that he's, about it. Like he's out there now to be, the guy that you listen to and that you focus on. You get your truth and information for it. That dude's a salesman. He's a car salesman. He's trying to sell you bone broth and, fear tactics, fear porn and all this other stuff. They making money off of InfoWars over there. Not to mention the money that I'm 99% positive that they are getting under the table from the CIA. And after you see these operations, you will know for a damn fact that it is not far-fetched at all that these individuals are being paid to do what it is that they're doing. And if that's the case, then you have to realize even more so that something like flat earth and the passivity, submissiveness, apathy, and complacency that's getting pumped through these mainstream flat earth channels is not a mistake. It's not a mistake. They want you to be focused on the mainstream version of flat earth. They want you to think that it's only about going mainstream. They want you to think that it's only about, NASA lying and the Jews lying and the money system. They want you to get to that anger, that fear, and that's not mainstream. So they want you to pride yourself in that you are separate from, the big liars out there on the local news and the mainstream. See, that's what the local news and the mainstream media is. It's to set the bar so fucking far out in fairyland, in Disneyland, in Complacentville and Apathyville. Set the bar so far out there, and people are easily going to fall into that because they don't have time to, they don't have time to be, they got responsibilities. They can't be looking into this information about secret governments and all this other stuff. And on the other hand, what are they going to do about it? On the other hand, how is that going to affect their children? So it's actually the people who are locked into this system who are actually empowering their own enslavement through fear. So you're too afraid to challenge the system because the system gives you your illusion of freedom. It gives you your idea of first world countries and so on and so forth. So, excuse me, I set this whole tone up enough because I kind of want to breeze through these these storylines. But before I get to those, I wanted to finish off this United Nations storyline and just share with you some of the stuff. So you can obviously see the United Nations calls for a global economic makeover to replace neoliberalism. That's the same kind of perspective that Alex Jones takes when he says, we are the patriots and those are the globalists. So it's this Hegelian dialectic. You choose one side out of the two. That's it. You only have two options, the good guys or the bad guys. And when you think of the United Nations and unity and the global climate and the global economy, you're going to see that, oh yeah, that's coming together. We're finally doing it. If you have the mind of a Burger King commercial, you're going to expect this to happen and it'll be good for you. This is what the New Age agenda is thinking at the same time. This is that mentality. As long as everything comes together, everything will be fine. All right, well, step the fuck to the side because you are setting up the people for the next enslavement program. The UN calls for global economic makeover to replace neoliberalism. So you have the neoliberal mentality being pumped out there by the mainstream media, your alternative news. It's being amplified by people like Alex Jones and your conspiracy theorists. And then the superheroes come out of nowhere and say, look, we are going to answer everything. We're going to fix everything. And these are the answers. Global economy, global government, global this, global that, sustainable this, sustainable that. Look, we fixed the world. You have brand new, shiny new slave chains and happy-go-lucky slave owners. So they say things like the world must ditch austerity and economic neoliberalism and undertake a global New Deal. Where do you think that came from? To rebalance the global economy and achieve prosperity for all. Oh, don't you want to achieve prosperity for all? Doesn't that sound wonderful? The UN Trade and Development Agency, UNCTAD, said in a report on Thursday, prosperity for all. How wonderful is that? You think it's a coincidence they have a channeler named Cryon speaking at the United Nations telling you that same unification, prosperity for all bullshit story from this new age channeling perspective? Oh, that's just a coincidence. The aim should be to end fiscal austerity imposed in 13 out of 14 advanced economies between 2011. Before that. We need a global New Deal, he said, referring to the policies that revived the depressed U.S. economy in the 1930s. They are using the same mechanisms to get you convinced that whatever they say you should be doing, you should do that. Otherwise, the alternative is what? Catastrophe. Apocalyptic, the apocalypse, all this stuff. It's fear constantly. This is proof that Alex Jones is just a confirmed piece of shit out there. And TYT is like a dried up, like that old dog, white dog shit that's dried up on the sidewalk. That TYT is like that old dried up dog shit. Alex Jones is like wet, fresh dog shit just to get you locked into it. And you like, anyway. End fiscal austerity imposed in 13 of 14 leading advanced economies between 2011 and 2015 and prioritized reflation, full employment, and decent jobs. Get back to work, you fucking slaves, rather than tackling inflation and cutting government debt. That's all they want. They want you to focus on jobs. Jobs because jobs give you fiat currency, and fiat currency gives you your shelter, gives you your food, gives you your security, gives you your expansion, your iPhone, your technology. It gives you your life. So whoever gives you your jobs, they are your gods. If they invent this Federal Reserve note, that has power over the land, power over the resources, power over your life. Really, people are killing people every day for money, robbing people. Mark Zuckerberg robbing people, taking his credit card out to Hawaii and buying damn near an entire island. I haven't confirmed it, but I heard something about Oprah pretty much owning Maui. I haven't looked into that. I can't really confirm that, but it's not far-fetched. You have these people with billions and billions, these billionaires who just go out and steal this land with the illusion of the fiat currency system. How the hell is that any different than Christopher Columbus saying that he's discovered the new world and is installing this new way of life? It's the same shit. And because you believe in it from the evolutionary perspective of, this is the evolutionary peak of humanity, you just let it go. Why? Because you're constantly bombarded with distraction, apathy, submissive, complacent, and passive programming every single day through the new age and through even flat earth today. This is what I'm saying. Keep this in mind when you're seeing this, when you're hearing all these other things that are in and around flat earth. Not to mention the fact that there's a so-called flat earth map on the United Nations flag. Just another side note that I mentioned in previous videos. It needs a serious regulation of corporate abuse in both the financial and the corporate sector, and it requires serious redistributionary measures, both fiscal and more innovative measures, he said. Innovation, sustainability. The New Deal, prosperity for all. That story right there, that is the merging of the secret government and the public government. And the public government, this is what the United Nations is. It's the segue to the secret government taking itself from the national level and just fighting wars, secret wars through the CIA all over the place and going international. So now, they can go international with their secret war against anybody who goes against their belief systems. And here's your proof of, how all of this nonsense out there exists, has been existing. And just keep in mind, like I said, the submissive mentality, passivity, and the complacency, flat earth, the new age program, the new age agenda. When you look at stuff like the CIA funding the Dalai Lama during the 60s, thinking, just keep in mind what happened with Tibet and China. You think the CIA is not going to be involved in that? Keep in mind, look into this stuff for yourself, but keep that in mind. The powerhouse of China, the potential of expanding passivity and complacency through the Dalai Lama. And look at him as a figurehead right now. Does this look far-fetched to you? Keep an open mind with this and look at what they're actually doing. Think of the Dalai Lama as like an international passivity representative. And think of the New Age agenda as an international passivity community. Now think of Flat Earth as an international passive, submissive, and complacent, apathetic movement or community. If the CIA is funding the Dalai Lama back in the day, he's still working for them right now. You don't ever stop working for the CIA. What is he doing out there? He's expanding the New Age mentality, the passive mentality. But he's giving you this inherent, like subconsciously, you think that he's against the powers that be, because in his case, China was the powers that be. They persecuted him. They kicked him out of his own land. Now he's a superhero traveling the earth with no place to go, telling everybody to just be passive, be complacent, believe in your government, treat them with, this submissive sort of interaction. Meanwhile, they're bombing the rest of the world. He's a figurehead. He's a new age figurehead. And like I said, this is a very complex system. It's a very intelligent operation that is happening right now. And it's playing both the good and the bad, or fear and love. Like I said, in the old school way of controlling people was through fear. It's still happening right now, but it's transitioning into love. This is why you have the Dalai Lama going around talking to all of these actors, talking to Russell Brand, talking to the news media, talking to people on HBO. This is to make you think that the government or whoever or whatever is, it's believable. It's good. Things are changing. No, they're not. It's a CIA funded operation to make you passive. We all know about Operation Mockingbird and how that's still going on today. The mainstream media is designed to control your mind. If you think that's separated from social media, the flat earth movement, the new age agenda, and all these other things that are out there, I don't know what to say. There's nothing else to say. That's no different than you believing in anything that the public government is telling you, next to knowing that there's a secret government. If there is a secret government, it completely cuts the legs out of any kind of integrity or realistic interactions of the public government. If the secret government exists, then that's the only government that exists. The other government that's in your face, the Bernie Sanders, the Obamas, the Trumps, the Clintons, the Bushes, they are the Burger King commercials to make you believe in this movie that is your enslavement. So you're consumed by the commercials, buying everything that they're selling to you, remaining passive, complacent, apathetic, and submissive to the secret government. Operation Gladio, post-World War II, CIA MI6 plot to battle communism in Italy. All of these secret operations that are out there, they do these operations and they blame it on a scapegoat. Sound familiar? All the information about ISIS out there that's being run by the CIA. The beginnings of Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden working for the CIA, all this stuff. Keep in mind, the Twin Towers, that whole thing, 9/11, World Trade Center 7, all that stuff, that was in New York. So wherever city you live in right now, 9/11 happened in your city by the secret government. Just because it happened in New York and you don't live there, don't mean it didn't happen to you. Whatever it was, whatever you believe what happened, happened. The main thing that people believe in is something happened. And a lot of things expanded upon that happening, whatever it was. Soldiers were going to war in Iraq, in Afghanistan, expanded to Iran, expanded into ISIS, Syria, Libya. the war on terrorism. All this is instigated by the secret government. And meanwhile, you're laughing it away, watching Trevor Noah, John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Samantha Bee. It's a game for you. Why? Because you're okay. Fuck everybody else. Why? Doesn't matter. We're hopeless. It's hopeless. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. It'll just all be okay. That's the reason. That's what the Dalai Lama does to you. That's what the New Age agenda does to you. No different than what these late night talk show hosts do to you. Guatemala, syphilis study. Syphilis experiments in Guatemala, where the United States led human experiments conducted in Guatemala from 1946 to 1948. Sound familiar? If you've never heard of that before, then maybe you haven't heard of the Tuskegee syphilis experiments that happened right in your own land to your own people. If you haven't heard of that, then I don't know what to say. Study was stopped in 1973 by the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare only after its existence was publicized, and it became a political embarrassment in 1997. It became a public embarrassment. In 1997, under mounting pressure, President Clinton apologized to the study subjects and their families. Confirmed biological warfare. That's not the secret government. It started out as a secret government. Then it got outed. These are the stories that are on the fringe between secret government and public government, that give more confirmation that anything that comes on your public government, anything on the news, your local news, alternative news, conspiracy news, all this shit, whatever it is, it's null and void. It's a game show. It's Maury Povich. It's Jerry Springer is more accurate. Bohemian Grove, a secretive, cult-like gathering of world elites, a secretive organization of people that control the world. Turns out it does exist, and many members are powerful world leaders and titans of industry. The real action happens at Bohemian Grove, the Bilderberg group that's out there. All of these individuals, these groups, these communities, these movements give their power. Largely, they have this power to control the people, control the land, control the media through the fiat currency system. Through your belief systems. You believe in that. You believe in the power that they have given themselves because you believe the power of evolution, the power of monkey evolution to the evolutionary peak of what we are today, this technological human experience. By the way, don't look at any of the ancient technologies. Don't look at any of the ancient civilizations. They were primitive and savage. Why does that exist? So you can worship your own enslavement and your own enslavers today. Operation Snow White. Unprecedented infiltration of the U.S. government by the Church of Scientology during the 1970s. All that free money, pre-tax money that these fake-ass religions and churches get from the people, from their belief systems. Meanwhile, they're struggling to get food on the table, but they'll give that money to that church. Why? Because generations before them were also indoctrinated to that belief system. Scientology and Operation Snow White is just another example of a modern mechanism utilized to control people. They have people in Hollywood Tom Cruise. It's still Tom Cruise movies coming out today. Your children wanting to be like Tom Cruise. Inherently wanting to be like everything that he's done. Wanting to be that indoctrinated commercial soul. Operation Snow White goes into the government, the CIA, actually protecting the crimes that Scientology was committing and still is committing. And then they'll put this fake ass documentary on HBO to make it look like things are changing and things are being outed. Then they'll put Leah Remini on TV, on The View, on all these other channels and radio shows. Like, oh yeah, I escaped Scientology. It's so bad. But only focus on that. Scientology is a scapegoat for the secret religious cult-like programs that are going on out there. They want you to focus on Scientology so you don't focus on the religion of scientism, the religion of Western civilization. They want you to focus on the micromanagement team of this macro enslavement program. MK Ultra, obviously. Back in the 50s, CIA secretly dosed individuals with LSD in order to test potential effects of mind control. They do it through the media and many other things. This is not some conspiracy. These are actual facts that are out there. See, that whole mentality of conspiracy theory was invented by the CIA. They want it to create instability. It's no different than all this other information. It's no different than the tactics that the mainstream media uses when people bring up something like 9/11 truth or, the flat earth. They just laugh. Oh, come on. You guys are just crazy. That's a mind control program. When you have an anchor, a news anchor, anchoring in your reality, laughing and poo-pooing away some information that you can research yourself and actually... That's a belief system. That's a religion. When they're, oh, come on, that's crazy. Or that lady who was talking to Michio Kaku when Michio Kaku said that the CIA was using weather manipulation to fight the Viet Cong in Vietnam. And she said, what was the word? Allegedly. Allegedly, Michio. Come on. No, he stated that as a fact. The CIA used weather manipulation to wash out the Viet Cong. He was stating that as a fact. But since he spoke out of his ass on television, or out of the side of his mouth on television, which is the mind control program, she had to install that instability in the viewer, in the listeners, by saying, no, you need to say allegedly, because people can't know actual facts from the news. Get out of here. They have to know busy work. They have to know indoctrination. They have to be installed with this idea that we control the world, that we are constantly working on innovative, sustainable development that will thrust humanity into the future. That's what the mainstream media is there for. Scare the shit out of you and make you believe in the system at the same time that it's beneficial for you. Operation Northwoods. Joint Chiefs of Staff of the military drew up and approved plans to create acts of terrorism on U.S. soil in order to sway the American public into supporting a war against Cuba. No different than the economic hitmen that are going down and creating all of these military coups in various nations. And I mean, all this stuff exists out there. If this stuff exists, if any one of these, this is the thing, to pause time for a moment and say, if any one of these stories are real and actually exist, then your entire public government is it's a charade. It's a TV show. It's a movie production. It's no different than the moon landing. This is why I said, if you're waiting on flat earth to go mainstream, that's an oxymoron. You're an oxymoron. If that's what you want to happen, if that's what you think is the thing, it's like twice wrong. First off, flat earth going mainstream is saying the scientific version of flat earth, the linear perspective of flat earth is what you need to focus on. Secondly, that linear perspective only needs to go mainstream, which is another linear interpretation of reality. So 2 linear interpretations of reality need to happen to save the world. Done. Wrong on so many levels. Now look back to what I was saying in the beginning of this video. Can you look at the New Age community the same way? Can you look at the flat earth community the same way? When you see how fucking complacent, submissive, and passive and apathetic these assholes are. Can you look at them the same way? When you see that all this shit that's existing out there to maintain your passivity, to maintain your complacency, to maintain your apathy, your confusion. All of this information that's out there, and these assholes are throwing parties and celebrations in hopes that something like flat earth goes mainstream. Whether they are actually getting paid by the CIA or not doesn't matter, because they are actually doing the work of the CIA for the CIA. And if they can do it without paying your asses, more power to you. More power to them, actually. Because they're the ones pulling the strings of you, and they don't even have to pull the strings. Why? Because you think you're you think you're doing some shit. You're actually making people more complacent, more passive, and more submissive to this system. You're doing the work of the CIA-sponsored Dalai Lama, Mark and Patricia. You're doing the work, and it's not just them. All these other assholes out there who are getting all butthurt because we're mentioning them about how they're doing the same shit. Jaren, Glowbusters, whoever else is out there in that little circle of people who are just calling themselves the top brass, including Eric DeBay, just does it in the same way. Let's just focus on veganism and the Jewish stuff and all that other stuff. And I don't want to go too deep into that because a lot of these people are putting out information that is very beneficial. People need to realize what's going on with, the soul, the mind, and the body. I need to see all of the influences of all these different stories all over the place. At the same time, like I said in many of the other videos, it's not so much about what you're talking about, it's what you're not talking about. And there's a whole laundry list of shit that these assholes ain't said a damn thing about. It's not at all in their storyline. And the human story is where I'm coming from. This is not to put an expectation on them or a judgment on them because they're not talking about this. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I'm talking about flat earth. I'm talking about the stories surrounding flat earth and conspiracy theories and all this other stuff from the foundation of the human story. The human story that adds up to the deception of heliocentrism. These assholes who are talking about flat earth from only the perspective of what and consistently avoiding the how and the why, for whatever reason, they are actually adding to the complacent mechanism that is being used by the mainstream media. That's as basic as I can put it. That's as simple as it really gets. They're doing the same work that the mainstream media does. They are doing the same work that the CIA-sponsored Dalai Lama is doing. They're doing the same work that the New Age agenda is doing. Expanding apathy under the guise of forward progress, under the guise of sustainable development. And if you're expanding apathy, submissiveness, and passivity and complacency across the board through your happy-go-lucky perspectives on what's going on, then you are actually walking people into the New World agenda. You're walking people into that United Nations, everything, we're all one human existence, come together in sustainable development, a new economy, a new job system, new development, all this other stuff. And they're going to so-called unify you underneath, whatever storyline, the alien agenda, the new age agenda, whatever it is. They got their people out there. They got their Oprahs. They got their Bernie Sanders. They got their channelers like Cryon speaking at the United Nations. They got their actors out there. These are all preachers for the enslavement program who get paid millions and millions of dollars to keep you complacent. You think it's a mistake that these silent ass athletes, these deaf and mute ass athletes and musicians and actors get paid millions of dollars? You think they get paid millions of dollars to throw a ball around? They get paid millions of dollars to act on screen? No, they get paid millions of dollars to shut their fucking mouths. That's why they get paid millions of dollars. Because if those millions of dollars get taken away, they don't have a voice anymore. They will be blacklisted. Case in point, Colin Kaepernick. He can't even speak up about something as obvious as people getting shot, black people getting shot on the streets. He can't even say that there's something wrong with that without being persecuted by the system. He's being used as an example to every other buddy out there that has a mouth from their bank account microphone. They're getting paid to shut up. It's no different than people who, giving them the benefit of the doubt, are not getting paid to shut you up, to make you think that everything is just okay as long as the government does this, this, and this. You don't have a government. You never did. It never existed. If you ask me, this passive, complacent, submissive, apathetic ass mentality of the flat earth community is a CIA operation. Whether they need to be like paid or instructed to do what they're doing or not, they are already doing the work of Operation Snow White, of the Dalai Lama, of Operation Gladio, Operation Mockingbird, the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. They're already doing the work of MK Ultra, Operation Northwoods. They're doing the work of Operation Paperclip. It's the new version of all this stuff. They're doing all of this work, whether they know it or not, because they just walked into it and just, whatever. That's giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's in the high 90th percentile that at least one of these assholes that are out there telling you to just be passive and complacent are definitely being paid, having their puppet strings pulled to make you think and act a certain way. Definitely. To remain passive, to believe in this system. The United States, $20 trillion in debt. $20 trillion in debt. And they got the nerve to kick your grandmother out of her home because she missed a couple of payments on her house. They got the nerve to come after you because you, whatever it is, you see what I mean, How in the hell can these pirates, these criminals who are $20 trillion in debt, be empowered to control you and your money? And you keep paying your student loans, your home loans, your taxes, your this and that. You're paying taxes to criminals, to pirates, who they themselves are in the most debt across the earth. You think any of them are, losing something about that? No. Why? Because you believe in the system. It's your belief system that keeps them afloat. But you become $500 in debt, and your ass could be living on the street. These communities, these movements, these so-called revolutions, they're all prepositioned for you if you are not coming from the perspective of the land, of the people, of what has led up to the power grid of today. Focusing on flat earth going mainstream is no different than focusing on Bernie Sanders becoming the president. It's the same story. It's an illusion, because you're not looking at the infrastructure itself. So that's pretty much what I had for this whole video. I can't confirm it. And in my eyes, you don't have to confirm that flat earth is a CIA operation the mainstream flat earth, because the action speaks for itself. Could this be easily co-opted by the mainstream media? Of course. They've already been talking about it with their little people here and there. Could it be co-opted by the United Nations? Of course. You have to be a complete idiot to think that it's not. I mean, they already have a somewhat flat earth map on their flag. These are just these facts that are out there that exist that make you start asking questions about the macro story. See, what gets subscribers, what gets views, what gets all of these social media whatevers are the micro stories. These little these interviews and live streams. That's what gets you followers and subscribers and view counts and all that other stuff. That's the micro story. You start talking to the macro story, you're talking to the responsibility of their soul, the responsibility of their themselves. This is when you start getting into actual accountability on a human scale. Mainstream flat earthers channels are not talking about human accountability. They want to talk about the box, within the box. They don't want to talk about the box outside of the box. It's too scary out there. We'll just stay safe in here. Isn't this wonderful? Look at my suit. Look at my stove. Look at my coffee pot. This is just wonderful. Everything will be better very soon. Stick around. Keep it flat.